Yo, just pause. Hold on. Stop just a second. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Bogan podcast where we talk about anything and everything from a faith-based perspective. We are joined by none other than yours truly, one of my best friends, a brother of mine, Caden Olson, where we do talk about friendship. So the reason why I'm here right now, before you go on to the next thing, is because I had to clarify something. So this is a two-parter because why not, right? So this is just the first part, and then it's just going to cut to the second part onto the next video, which you will see sometime soon. It's going to be talking about friendship. We are talking about friendship, the importance of high-quality friendship, just the seriousness of having like a Christ-like friendship. Not that all the people you are friends with has to be a Christian, but it is good to have like-minded individuals, brethren, and brothers or sisters in Christ. But we do talk about friendship, the importance of it, and the importance of quality over quantity. Now, before you continue off onto watching or listening to the podcast, I would just ask if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean a whole lot, and it would help out a whole lot with the algorithm. If you are on Spotify, be sure to follow us and give us a rating. If you are on Apple Podcasts, be sure to subscribe or follow us, as well as give us a rating as well. Now, with that said, enjoy this podcast because it was one of my favorites, sincerely, that I filmed with my friends. So I hope you guys enjoy it. What's up, you guys? Oh, sorry. I didn't know.
My phone.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Bogan podcast. We're talking about anything and everything from a faith-based perspective. Guys, I messed up. I'm a flawed human being. I'm a sinner. And I really jacked up because I didn't give a formal introduction onto the Caucasian man on my right. This is Caden Olson. He is one of my best friends. He's a brother. He's amazing. There's going to be a lot of kissing up possibly in this episode specifically because that's what we are talking about today, and that is friendship. In all seriousness, the Lord has been very faithful in blessing me with a brother and an awesome dude like him. But yeah, Kane, why don't you just tell him a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Guillermo. Likewise, about all that towards you as well. So I am a junior at FAU. I'm a Christian, obviously. I feel like I just feel like that. When you're thinking about who you are, I want the first thought to be like, I'm a Christian, I'm a follower of Christ, right? But I feel like we already knew that, but I'll just say it anyways. I enjoy running and working out, and I'm a part of WinShape. Let's go WinShape.
Yes, sir.
A summer camp dedicated to spreading the gospel to children, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, so do you remember, actually, super random, but this is how we kind of started off. Do you remember when and how we met by any chance?
I do remember.
There might be different perspectives depending on how you see it. So what's your perspective?
Well, do you mean when we got to know each other, when we got close, or when we met? Like
when we met, I was like, hi, my name's Guillermo. Hi, my name's Caden.
So Guillermo, me and Guillermo had both been attending a Christian club on campus at FAU, and they meet constantly to play volleyball, go to lunch, meet for worship and a sermon, or to play spike ball. So one day we get together to play spike ball, and I believe me and my friend were versing Guillermo and our other friend Marcos, and I think that's where I met you right then and there, right?
It actually wasn't.
No.
So that's where like I had an interaction with you, but when you and I actually first met, it wasn't where like the bigger volleyball courts are at FAU.
No.
It's where I think it's APT where there's a volleyball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? So that's where we actually played for the first time, I'm pretty sure.
Uh-huh.
And then you, like, because Juan, I think, introduced you or got you to come or something. He was like, oh, this is my friend Caden.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I was like, oh, Caden, because I couldn't process your name for some reason.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, what's your name? Oh, I'm Guillermo, nice to meet you, type of thing. Mm-hmm. And that was like when we first met each other. It was at that FAU volleyball courts. Okay. But then like when I had an interaction with you, I don't know if it was that same day or if it was a different day. Uh-huh. It was spike ball and stuff.
Yeah. I think my team definitely won, right?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Guillermo's not very good at spike ball, guys. Don't let him fool you.
This guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. Okay, so I wanted to extend on that then. So you were very competitive, and so I remember you said like you were sarcastic and or not sarcastic. You meant it as sarcasm because you communicated that, but you're like, why are you taking it so serious or something with the competition?
Yeah.
And then I remember I came up to you privately afterwards, and I was like apologize because I thought you were being serious.
Yeah.
And then I was like, dude, I just want to apologize for coming off serious or rude or competitive or whatever. And you looked at me, you're like, no, dude, it's all good. I was just kidding. I was just being sarcastic. I was messing around.
Yeah,
But I
I
couldn't tell if
remember
you were saying that out of sympathy or if you like trying to be nice or if you were like genuinely like you didn't mean anything you said. You were just being sarcastic and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was like, okay, that's interesting. But that was like that interaction. You really, do you not remember that?
No, I remember that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I remember that happening. It was. You also like you thought something was wrong with me. You were like, why is this?
Okay.
You were like, why is this kid so competitive?
Dude, you're jumping
No,
right
yeah.
ahead, man. So that's what I was gonna talk about, man. That's how we met. So, the other thing we have on our notes is what was our first impression / thought of each other. You can go first, and actually, no. Can I go first on this one since you kind of brought it up?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So when I first met Caden, and I told this to him like once we got close.
The
When
sad part is this is not uncommon.
That's not true. That is not true. Him and some other friends of ours think like this is what I think of other people, but that is not true. Okay, I just want to clarify that, just to be clear. He can say it all he wants, but that's not true. When I first met Caden, and I got to like see and observe certain things he would do and say. No disrespect, no offense to anyone out there. But this was my thought process.
The truth, yeah. This is
like
transparency right here.
Like I genuinely thought Caden had special needs. Like I thought it was hard for him to communicate or for him to like kind of like put himself out there. So I was like, oh man, poor guy. Maybe he's got something going on or something.
Man.
So, but it was still hard to be sympathetic towards him because he would like do and say stuff that I just did not understand. And then I, come to find out as I got to know him as a person, I was like, oh, he's not. He's just funny. It's just how he is type of thing. And so that was like my impression of him. And it wasn't necessarily negative, and it wasn't necessarily positive. I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's it." That was the first thing that came to my mind. My first impression of you.
Is there anything specific that made you think like what was it? Was it the competitiveness, or did it just like was there anything I said?
It wasn't. You definitely said some stuff that I'm sure was like questionable to me, but it wasn't. It wasn't that. I think it was more so the fact that like usually when you're in a new, because you were newly plugged into RUF, like you were just getting into it and stuff, to my knowledge at least, because that was the first time I ever saw you and met you, and I was like already somewhat involved with it before, but like usually like when you're in a new setting or in a new area, like I liked, and I'm not saying like because I do this you have to do this either. I'm just saying like. My thing is like, oh, I don't want to like act out of character or act crazy with a bunch of people that I don't know. And so it was funny how you were acting competitive because you were yelling, you were screaming. You might have like, which it didn't offend me, but you might have said some questionable stuff to other people.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the heck?
No, something I've been told is that I do not make a good first impression. But part of the reason that is because I am just me.
Yeah, as you should be. Yeah.
I don't soften it for anyone. I'm like me right out of the gate when I meet somebody. So.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. But like I'm just more like I guess reserved to a certain degree. Like I like to show my not true colors, but like my jokeful side or like side of sarcasm.
Yeah, which is a good thing. That's a mature thing to do. I think.
Yeah. I just don't want. That's the thing. I don't want this to come off as like a superiority, like oh, I'm more mature and I'm more wise, because I'm not. I'm not. But it's just like you asked the question, so that's kind of what that was my take. I was like, man, he's really comfortable for someone who like he doesn't know many people here. He's just So I thought it was funny. So that was kind of like my first impression of you, my thought, I guess, in general.
Yeah. Well, my first take on you, I didn't quite think you were special needs, but. I definitely thought Guillermo was a very very, very intense and passionate guy. I mean, partially because of Spike Ball. I mean, he was really, really into it. And to be that into it when you're that bad, it's just like, obviously something is wrong with him, But Guillermo is a very intense guy, which is a good thing. I think a lack of passion or lack of intensity about things that matter, I mean, that would be unattractive to friendship, Gotcha. So it's a very good thing, but yeah, Guillermo he cares a lot about whatever it is he's talking about or whoever he's talking to. He's always got a fire for it. And I think that would be the thing that first stuck out to me. I was like, man, this guy's like, he's intense. You know, that was my first impression of you.
Dang, I'm sorry, mine wasn't
Yeah,
reciprocated.
mine is like so. I feel like my first impression of you is like so high and I was like, wow, what a great guy. And you walked away at the same time, like, man, that guy's autistic. Like literally.
That's funny. I'm sorry. Hey, but look on the bright side. We're filming podcasts, always talking and stuff. So that's actually what I want to talk about. And that's the next segment of this thing. So us getting closer, just in general. So correct me and also add stuff if I'm missing stuff out. But I want to provide my perspective and everything. So there was the Friday afternoon or whatever with volleyball. We talked briefly. It wasn't even. It was literally just high and by from what I can. It wasn't like a sincere, close conversation or how are you or who are you.
Yeah.
It was just like it was civil and it wasn't like beef. It wasn't an issue. It was just like that's just how it was at the time being. So I was pet sitting for my family friend, and we ended up getting kicked out because there was too many people and stuff, and which was obviously understandable, respectful. And you were there for that as well, but I wasn't close with you at all. It was Knox, one of our friends. Knox was like, "Hey, can Caden come?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And like I said, I didn't have an issue with you. I just didn't know who you were, so I was like, whatever, not a big deal, right? So that was that, and then I talked to you like very briefly as well. Same thing, nothing crazy, right? But for me, the thing that really hit home, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like me too, and also not the movement, but me too. Like I'm thinking about it too.
Yeah.
Was the fact that the campus ministry that we met at is called RUF, stands for Reformed University Fellowship, and so the thing from that was that there's like this conference called SUCO, which is short for summer conference, and it was the first year that I went. I think it was the first year you went too. And so I remember like we were talking and interacting and stuff. But the very last day, bro, you were like, "Hey, can you talk?" And it sounded serious, and I didn't know you well enough, but I was like, we still somewhat bonded that week. And you're like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And you opened up about certain struggles, certain things that you just. I was shocked, not because of what you said, but because you were so
The transparency.
transparent, and also we didn't know each other that well. We just did not. We weren't boys and all that stuff. And you were like, "Hey man, I have this issue going on. I have this thing and I wanted to share it. Like, do you think we can like talk outside of RUF or SUCO or whatever and hang out and just like keep each other accountable?" And I remember I said a lot of things that day because I'm very passionate about that. But one of the things I said to you was like, "Bro, me too. And I was being serious. I wasn't joking. I wasn't being sarcastic. I was like, "Me too, bro."
Yeah.
And so from there, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure that's where things picked up. That's where we did work together during the summer with landscaping with your brother. We hung out like crazy. I'm pretty sure during the summer. We had so many ventures together. We had so like one-on-ones and like in a group setting. Phone calls, bro, till like 12 or 1 at night, and just hours and hours of conversation. So that's kind of my perspective on how we got closer. I don't know if you have anything to add, or if there's anything that also stuck out to you, or I forgot anything.
Yeah, I think just in general, not just to me, specific to me and you, but just in general, with making friends, like transparency, like that, like it's almost like a formula, like transparency plus humility equals like intimacy like in a friendship setting, right? But like it's difficult though, because if only one person is gonna humble themselves and be transparent, right?
Yeah.
And the other person doesn't reciprocate that, I feel like it doesn't normally end. It doesn't equal friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I feel like in that moment I was able to, like, through God's grace, I was able to humble myself and be transparent and honest with you.
Yeah.
About my struggles.
Yeah.
And you didn't, like you said, you didn't take that superior tone or setting. You also decided to open up, humble yourself, and be transparent about your struggles. And through that, like, God just blessed us with a friendship. You know. So I think God uses us being honest and transparent with one another.
Yeah.
To create friendships.
But okay, so I get that perspective. But what was it? Because in my mindset, I agree with everything you just said. But like and thank God you did this, because I probably wouldn't have. I don't just open myself up to people that I don't know that well. I'll talk about testimonies and stories and grow closer. But like, bro, you just went very in depth. You went very in detail. Like what drew you to tell me that specifically? I guess you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
what? I don't know if you remember context of that week or but what? Because I feel like I wouldn't have done that towards you, and it wasn't anything. It wasn't personal. It's just like you shocked me, bro. And that because you did that though, I was like, dude, I want to be friends with. I want to be best friends with this guy. I want to grow closer to this guy. So
Yeah.
what was it? What was the thing?
I think I think like when I'm looking at someone to like not just not judging them or seeing like if I want to be friends with them, but when I'm like I guess just thinking of a person, right? Like I'm kind of looking to see like if I'm making like a Christian friend, right? I'm kind of looking to see like if this person is actually based. Like if this person here's who they say. Like, are they just really are they going to RUF to to have Christian friends and like hang out and go play volleyball, or are they going to RUF because they really believe the gospel and they know how important Christian community is? What's the reason they're going? And I could tell from you, like just you're going because you really believe the gospel and you really knew Christian community was important, and you didn't just want to receive and get to be a part of Christian community. You wanted to give back to others, to the freshmen who needed guidance, and you wanted to give back to people who were looking for a home. And I feel like I picked that up about you, and whatever our like cultural or character differences, like the reason I was so trusting because even though like me and you are still different in a lot of like, cultural or character ways,
Yeah.
where we can be different, right? But knowing that one piece about you is enough for me to open up to somebody.
Yeah.
Because no matter how different we are about the little things,
Yeah.
as long as we have that big thing in common, I know that it can't end in a poor way. I don't think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what led me to being so transparent and honest. Just because I feel like I based off that one thing I knew about your character, I knew you would take it well.
Yeah, praise God, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. And that's all honor, credit, and glory towards the Lord. And I think like that's the cool thing too about our friendship is like it's always like this continual growth, and there's a sense of transparency, but also authenticity, being real with each other, not just like. I think another thing too that our foundation like of the friendship is the fact that we want to be a part of each other's lives, not just for the good parts, but the struggles, the trials, the tribulations, the issues, the situations, right?
Yeah.
And I think like that's what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn more towards negativity in the sense of not like if you're a negative person, I'm drawn not that kind of thing, but more so like, hey, dude, I have this crap going on in my life. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Like how can I help you? How can I serve you? How can
Yeah.
and it's not just me towards you. It's a two-way street, you know. So I think like that's been a huge blessing, a huge privilege, and like we've gone on trips together. We're always hanging out, not as much recently, but like
Yeah.
even
we did wind shape together.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not at the same camp, but we
Yeah.
both did it the same summer.
Exactly. And even that, it's like, I feel like we both prioritized and made it clear, like, try to call each other when we're able to, or like text, hey, thinking about you. How are you
Yeah.
doing? Hey, love you, man. I hope you're doing good, type of thing.
And that's like that to me. That's important because like at wind shape, you're not allowed to have your phones.
Yeah.
Like 6 days a week. So that's like commitment to friendship.
Yeah.
You're only having your phone 1 day a week, but you're still gonna reach out on that one day to be sure the other person's doing well.
Yeah.
So.
Amen, bro. Yeah, that's true. And so, you know how I am, my structure, my passion stuff. I do have these like set standards for friendship. Like basically, I don't want to say non-negotiables. I think there should always be room for grace and room for like somewhat stuff. But like these are set standards of like, okay, if you don't meet these, I don't know how far we're gonna get into friendship, right? I want to talk about mine as well, but I want to know, do you have set standards at all for your view on friendship, or are you just like open arms? Like what's your view, I guess?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would say like on like a shallow level, I'm open to being friends with anyone, right? Like of course I'm not gonna let people who aren't Christians play a huge role in my life. I'm never gonna come to them for advice because they're not capable of giving good advice because they can only give me worldly advice.
Yeah.
So I would never let anyone who's not a Christian be like on my inner circle. I think as Christians we should be there for them.
Yeah.
Serving them and maybe even in their inner circle, right? But they're kind of not in ours. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I hope that doesn't sound.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then so like if we are talking like on a deeper level, like close Christian friends who I'm gonna go to for advice, for my struggles, for my triumphs, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's just someone who I think someone who, I guess, loves the Lord, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's like obviously no brainer, right?
Yeah.
But someone who is like a servant, right?
Yeah.
Someone who is like I guess like sacrificial, like if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
someone who, and I wanna serve my friends as well, right? But
Mm-hmm.
someone who's willing to serve and sacrifice their time
Yeah.
to talk to me, because like for example, Guillermo just said how sometimes we talked on the phone late, like 1, 2 in the morning, right? There was times whereas a lot of me talking and Guillermo listening, and I don't know how Guillermo felt. Maybe he probably was tired though. He might not have wanted to listen, but he sacrificed his time and his sleep to stay up and talk to me. And Guillermo's a busy guy. Guillermo works all the time, so that staying up that late would mean something. And I know there's been times where Guillermo's like talked my ear off till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I had thoughts like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I want to go to bed, but I didn't. I didn't because I care about my friend Guillermo, and
Yeah.
I wanted to listen to his problem because it matters to me. His problems are, they're not necessarily my problems, but
Yeah.
I care about them and I care about
Yeah.
what
It's
happened.
biblical too, though.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just, I think that the criteria is just someone who like loves me like they love themselves.
Yeah.
Who cares for me the same
Yeah.
way they care for themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and even no friend can do that perfectly, right?
Yeah.
But
For sure.
just the
Mm-hmm.
effort that matters big time to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I've always experienced that with you and some of our other friends.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah. Dude, so I want to touch up on what you just said about how they would love me the way they would love themselves in a second.
Yeah.
But I want to distinguish being open friends to everyone versus brotherhood or inner circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
I
course.
am on the same page as you. I'm also open to friendship.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm very selective with who I have within my inner circle or my council.
Mm-hmm.
Not because what's something I can pick about you or that I don't like. It has nothing to do with that. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like it's similar to when you go to a store, right? When you go to Publix or Walmart, oh, I have to get potatoes, I got to get steak, I have a set list.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the store knowing that, hey, I'm going to go there to get what I need, what I want or what I need, food, nutrition, water, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go into that store with that expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you walk out and you get exactly what you needed or what you wanted, or sometimes you walk out with either missing something. Why are you
Yeah.
smiling?
Well, I just feel like I know where this is going, but keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going. Keep going.
And so basically same thing here, the same stuff applies to the friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. There's nothing more I hate than the idea or the thought of victimhood, but like I'm gonna share, like I have been wronged, of course, and I have also wronged people. I'm not a perfect person, I'm not a saint by any means. But I think I've had more heartbreaks and more deception than I've had like true friendship. But because I've had those heartbreaks and those deceptions from people, that's molded my view to see what a good high quality friend is versus what a so friend is or a questionable friend, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm open to friendship in general, but I do have these set standards that are also realistic and I don't think are radical and I would love for you to let me know if they are radical or not. Because of the fact that like I know what brotherhood is and I know what real like this what you and I have, this is more than just a friendship. This is brotherhood, this is brethren, this is something that I know like God forbid if something happens to me, like you are one of the first people I can call or contact me like, yo, there's this thing that popped up. I need your help or there's this situation, whatever. Without a doubt. Because you have proven to me through time as well as through experience as well as through a multitude of things that, okay, I can count on Caden and Caden is a brother because if I have an issue, a situation, I can confess this to Caden and I can let him know, right? And I feel like you match up my standard. It's not like this thing of like, oh, if you're not this, then it's this. It's like, no. But it's like those are things that I have these expectations or standards on people.
Yeah.
And so first and foremost is like authenticity, right? Being real as a person, but also being real as a friend.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I'm with you, and like I told you guys in the beginning of this podcast, and I told you this is going to be a bunch of kissing up possibly, but I just want people to understand the perspective, the context, and the standard. Like, I feel like you are the same person right now on a one-on-one basis. You are also the same person in a group setting. I cannot emphasize this enough. It really is a pet peeve of mine when someone who I talk to, I'm friends with or whatever, in a private manner is a completely different person in a group setting.
Switches it all up when people are around. Yeah.
That like I don't know if this is offensive, but that pisses me off. Like that is so annoying because it's like it makes me question then if you're like this with me, like do you like
Yeah.
how are you with other people then on you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and and you also have to question the heart behind it. Like,
yeah,
why are you changing up how you're acting when different people
yeah,
are you look like to me that feels like you're looking to others for validation or
yeah,
for attention or whatever, right?
yeah.
So
I agree, and
yeah.
I feel like that's the point I make there, and it's also not just once again authenticity towards yourself. Are you real towards yourself? But also are you real towards other people, or do you gossip? Do I show you a pretty face right now, but then I gossip behind your back, Kaden Olson?
Yeah.
Do I do you know what I mean? I just can't. That's something I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
That's just my view. That's my opinion. I think that there are moments for grace. I think there are moments for showing love. I think there are moments for compassion. But ultimately, like if that's going to be like this consistent thing, then I'm sorry, but I don't want any part in it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think like you're kind of skewing your own view because you're being inconsistent with how you're portraying yourself versus what you could be internally, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's just important to always, be authentic. Be like, I mean, not like, oh God, I don't want to say like a stupid cliche, but be true to yourself. I know, I know. But like, yeah, like you just want to be authentic at all times, no
Yeah.
matter who's around you. So,
Yeah, I feel like that's how it should be, but unfortunately, and I'm very quick to be cautious with this as well as like to observe like that's just not how some people are and that's fine. But like I said, if you're going to be within my circle, within my standards, like that's I have that expectation. I'm telling you, between Stanley, between Andrew, between Nayum, there's some people like I don't have to question like their character or who they are because like they meet the standard, but they've also shown it through time and time again, type of thing. The other thing too is mutual effort. I think this is a big problem for people our age, for people older than us, for even high schoolers right now,
yeah.
right? I think that between you and I, there's this fair, equal thing on us reaching out to each other. Hey, how are you truly doing? How are you feeling? Like how is the fight against sin? How are you doing? Like how can I help pray for you type of thing, you know? I don't ever have to question like, oh, am I doing too much or am I doing too little? And I also certainly don't have to question that about you. I think like there's a mutual effort to where we'll randomly call each other or we'll check up on each other or we'll also make the effort to hang out. Like recently, you've been stupid busy with a bunch of stuff between wind shape, work and school, a relationship, all these things. But even with that, you still carve out the time to call me. You still carve out the time to text me, and you're also like, dude, I know I say this a lot, but we gotta hang out too. I want to hang out. I've just been super busy,
Yeah.
like that. That means a lot to me. The fact that you're taking time out of your day and you're also like acknowledging that you've been busy and you haven't been able to hang out, but
Yeah.
you put that on the table. You know what I mean? I have so much respect because that's mutual. Because there are times where I'm like, dude, I want to hang out with Caden, but I
Yeah.
can't. There are times where I want to call Caden, but I can't.
Yeah.
And a simple text message or whatever, And I feel like that's very mutual. And I think like it's kind of because I've seen this with other people specifically. It's kind of painful to see how other people like they just pour and pour and pour and dump and dump and dump, and the thing's
Yeah.
not reciprocated as
Yeah,
well. You know what I mean?
nothing's being received. Yeah, that's always. I mean, that's tough in a friendship to like constantly. And it's not just tough. I mean, it's draining. Like to
For
pour
sure.
into a friendship and then never receive anything. I mean, that's just and that obviously that there's only one way that friendship can end, which is in death.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta have a friendship that is equally being poured into by both people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, and similar to how Proverbs, I hope you're able to quote this one. So one man, or so one, what is it? One man sharpens another. As iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Right? Does that
Yeah.
sound about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. You
And
didn't butcher it. Yeah.
I feel like that's you and I. Like I feel like that's you and I, and also a lot of our friends is like it's that sense of accountability. It's being mutual. It's being real with each other too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, dude, like I noticed you said this or said that. Like this wasn't cool, and here's why. In
Yeah.
a form of love, of course.